Welcome to the Balanced Body, Balansit, B-A-L-A-N-S-I-T, which is powered by OOV. Your first decision when you decide that you want to enhance your life with the Balansit will be to decide what is the correct size for you. The small, which I have here, or the medium, or the large. Consult the sizing chart to determine which will provide the optimal buoyancy for your pelvis, your torso, your lungs, your ribs, your whole spine. The Balansit is made of a proprietary material such that when the weight of your sitting bones depress the foam, it gets to about 50% of compression, and then there's a buoyancy. The proprietary foam pushes up, so you have micro movements, just subtle adjustments throughout your pelvis and your whole structure. It keeps you from creating a dumb butt. Instead, you can create, just by sitting with some awareness, you can create a buoyant structure. Now, here's the guidelines for how to create this happiness in sitting. First of all, you'll place the Balansit on a bench or a stool or a chair that ideally is firm and level. The Balansit is very light, very portable, and you can adjust it, and if you have a seat that's a little bit of a bucket seat or a raked or slanted perch, but I prefer a bench, a stool that has no side rails and no back, so I'm free to move the whole circumference of the kinesphere. Your next choice will be how high to have the Balansit on the chair. Ideally, when seated with your feet flat on the ground, you need a ground force through the soles of your heels and a ground force through the soles of your toes. Ideally, your hip joints will be higher than your knees. In this position of a slight decline, a slight declination, a rolling downhill from your hip joints to your knees, this optimizes your opportunity to balance the base of your pelvis on your Balansit. When you perch on the Balansit, you'll be seated on the apex of the curve at the back, the volume of the back, so that you're not being pulled towards a posterior pelvic tilt and spine flexion, and neither are you being propelled to an anterior pelvic tilt and spine extension. Nope. You are in your Goldilocks zone so that you can enjoy the architecture of the Balansit. As you inhale towards your right lung, your right sitting bone presses down, rocking the Balansit to the right. Exhale, center. As you inhale to your left lung, your left sitting bone presses the Balansit down, and you rock to the left. You can accompany this rocking side to side with a lateral flexion or a side bending of your whole spine to accompany pelvic unleveling and lumbar side bending. And then come to your middle balance point. When you're perched on the Balansit with a support of your pelvic bones, a freedom of your pelvic outlet tissues, and the appropriate support of your thighs on either side of the Balansit cutaway, the backs of your thighs, the tissues at the backs of your thighs are buoyed up by the sides of the balance sit. This creates some ease of movement, some appropriate slack in the tissues that connect your inner thighs with your diaphragm, your thoracic diaphragm that moves circumferentially with every breath you take. It seems to me that when there's some slack in those tissues, that they are not compressed and your diaphragm is not being tugged down by the connections with your inner thighs, that provides my current favorite phrase, a word having to do with the balance. It's some buoyancy so that every breath you take can be easier, and expansion posteriorly and laterally and anteriorly all around the circumference of your rib basket. Perching on your balance sit, make sure that the ergonomics of your work area are optimal for your spine, such that the spine curves that are supported by the balance sit are not sacrificed by having to move your head or compress your thoracic spine to see your work surface. Build up your work surface so that you have a level playing field, well, yes, but also a level visual field. Now, the balance sit is such a pleasure that it could be possible to overstay your welcome. So here are some guidelines for using the balance sit. Start with just 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, you come to stand and walk around. Appreciate the ease of mobility that you have in walking. Parenthetically, you could look at some of my other videos that explain how to alternate sitting and standing material. Then build up over time, as you feel intuitively guided to do, build up to as much as 30 minutes on the balance sit, but no more, because as marvelous and comfortable as sitting is here, it's very important to appreciate the changes through your whole structure by coming to stand, move over to your standing desk, or take a walk around while you're on a voice call rather than on a Zoom screen. Now, here are some suggestions for how to entertain yourself while you're on the balance sit at your work desk. You could rock from side to side, pressing down with your right sitting bone and pressing down with your left sitting bone, pelvic unleveling and lumbar side bending. The architecture, the construction, the design of the balance sit is such that it supports pelvic unleveling and lumbar side bending in a sagittal neutral. You could also rock forward and back, perching towards the front of your sitting bones and towards the back of your sitting bones. You also have the option of rocking diagonally. The contour, the design of the balance sit, also supports this combined planes of motion, rocking towards your right sitting bone and your left sitting bone, and then rocking left and right, diagonal left front, diagonal right back. And then the adult version of the balance sit hula hoop, pelvic circles or pelvic ovals, combining front side, back side, forward side, back, reverse direction. Now, these sorts of moves are probably not optimal to exhibit when your camera is on a Zoom call. So just make sure that your camera's not on, and when you can entertain yourself, when you still need to be present and accounted for, to check the chat, but you can play around a little bit on your balance sit. A whole lot more fun where this comes from. Please check out my other Balance Body, Balance Sit videos, including the special effects one in which you put a precision rotator disc underneath your balance sit. Your life will never be that much fun again. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll look forward to being with you next time, and let us know how your life has changed. Easy breathing, easy sitting with the Balance Sit. Bye for now.